Hello everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take another look here at Luna. Happy Monday to you, if there is such a thing. Of course, a wonderful red Monday. How about that? Big surprise, right? We have a green weekend, red Monday. That is essentially par for the course. Same with a green week and a red Friday. Just something you kind of get used to in the cryptocurrency market with the whales taking their profits and laughing all the way to the bank. Now, if you're new to the channel, keep this in mind. I'm not a financial advisor. I just love teaching people how to trade. I really hope you can learn something here today. My goal and my passion is to help you become a better trader. So that being said, I do have a trading academy, community, and signal group. Link in the description below if you'd like to consider joining. We have over 200 members presently active, and it's an amazing experience. So thank you so much to all my current community members. And a lot of times when I make videos like this, it's kind of a public service announcement to kind of help you get on track with best practice, because I don't think there's a lot of that out here. And generally speaking, I think it's important to be cautious and careful. So, if you're here to hear about how much it's going to moon in the near future, you're probably in the wrong place. I really just like to shoot you straight and use as much TA as possible. There's a lot more now than we had before at this price point, because again, we're in price discovery to the downside, and that essentially tells us that we haven't found the bottom yet. Now, the bottom is probably in. It came in right here at the really, really low price point. I think it was like 200 or 300. We'll have to zoom in to find that out, but I'm going to be paraphrasing and talking about the numbers in shorter numbers. In other words, the highest point here was right around 460,000. We'll just say 463, right? So generally speaking, I'll be paraphrasing with the numbers here, so it makes it a little easier. But generally, that's kind of where we're at here. So again, on the daily, we can see the price has worked its way from bottom to top on the Fibonacci here. It's staying within all these channels here. You can kind of see these resistance levels being formed as well as these support levels being formed. Okay, so we'll be able to look at smaller time frames, of course, to identify, but generally speaking, the daily, we are on the way down, of course. And I've noticed that today, the sell-off in the most recent past here is correlating directly with Bitcoin. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at that here. So I'll get this squeezed out here. All right, so for the 4 hour, we can kind of see, and again, we're not going to bother with moving averages because they're so stinking far away that it's not going to even matter for quite a long time. So we're really just going to be able to rely on support and resistance levels based on Fibonacci. That's really the best way you can go when you don't have a tremendous amount of data, right? Most of our data is averaging out at $80, $50, $40, whereas we're down there in fractions of a penny right now. So that being said, can't really rely on any traditional indicators, but when it comes to Fibonacci, we can kind of understand here that generally speaking, we are working our way within these channels. So we came all the way up to the top here, came back down to bounce off of 50. In other words, 0.5 on Fibonacci was about 230. So 230 was and should have been the bottom. Now, the price continued to average itself out. I believe the volume was tapering off, as you can see here, lower volume, breeding lower price point. There was a significant amount more volume in the last 4 hours than there was previous, but it depends on how you kind of look at it, right? So, generally speaking, that's kind of what we're looking at here. We're seeing lower volume, the price is digressing. There's less interest than we saw here, now here. Now, it could be a majority of things. There could be a lot more coins now than there was before. We could be at 7 trillion right now, before there was only 3 trillion back here. That has a lot to do with it too. Supply and demand is definitely a relevant factor. But generally speaking, we can see here that it's working within these Fibonacci retracement levels. It keeps testing them and then essentially moving into them. That being said, we can expect right around, we can say 110. 110 is essentially the line here that should be the immediate bottom. Now, when I say should be, it really just depends on what it wants to do. And let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the actual, what just happened here recently. Because if we look at this and then we kind of go right over to Bitcoin, let's pay attention to this point right here. That's right where Bitcoin was at its highest point. So as much as we don't want to admit it, Luna is reliant on Bitcoin being successful. Okay. Now, history, of course, if you go back here just a little bit, that doesn't matter because Bitcoin was misbehaving while Luna was going up. But once you establish that highest point and you're range bound, which we are right now, then you can quickly identify the correlation between Bitcoin and, in this case, Luna. I'm trying to drive that home just so you can understand that Bitcoin does control the market, and in that sense, Luna is essentially aligning itself with Bitcoin. Okay. Now, if we can see, obviously, that we have this downtrend here, And with Bitcoin, there's a downtrend here as well. So whatever Bitcoin does moving forward could and likely should influence Luna, right? With that same sentiment. Now, there's no guarantees, of course, but you can kind of see that correlation. I hope you understand that these two things are becoming synonymous. They may not be completely synonymous, but they are certainly getting closer. Okay. So again, just something to note as we kind of look at this here, because, you know, understanding where Bitcoin's going to go was very helpful. I make a Bitcoin video every day. It does feel like Bitcoin wants to digress and come lower. We have a bearish engulfing candle on the daily and a lot of complementing factors pushing us to the downside, rejecting off of a lot of key level resistances. That said, Terra Luna could follow suit there, and we could lose the support here at 110 and essentially continue lower. So I would say a dollar cost average target could be somewhere in the range of 120, so you can possibly get filled if it wicks down again, or even lower, somewhere in the range of, once again, this very, very low price point, I think, of, what was it, somewhere in the range of about 200, all the way upwards of 110,000. Now, I know that's a big range, and we can probably bridge that gap a little bit later, but for now, depending on your overall position size and obviously your goals for this coin, you'd want to consider the fact that the price could continue lower based on Bitcoin wanting to continue lower as well. Okay, so just kind of try to keep that in mind. So again, that correlation between these two is starting to become more of a stark reality, because a lot of times when coins go parabolic like this and go and increase on their own, independent of Bitcoin, they'll inevitably, on the retracement, align themselves with Bitcoin. Okay. So I'm just trying to help you understand that. We've seen it happen with a lot. KuCoin did the same thing, and I think even, what was it? There's a few others that did so as well, and it was just, it's not interesting at all. It's more so just the simple fact that it happens, right? So generally speaking, that's kind of where we're at there, and you just kind of got to come to terms with it. So is the price going to come up from here? Hypothetically, yes, it should, based on the fact that we are overextended to the downside. And if we look at, see if we can go ahead and zoom in a little further. Yeah, RSI is really not going to tell us too much because it's taken the last 14 days of data and using that. The MACD does tell us that we have a continuation of the upside, but that's also delayed and not really all that beneficial. So generally speaking, again, all the traditional indicators are kind of out the window. For the most part, based on Fibonacci, we shouldn't see a price point lower than 110. Again, hypothetically, shouldn't. There's no guarantees, though, in that regard. Terra Luna is definitely doing one of those strong increase followed by a strong decrease. Is it going to candle up again? It's hard to say specifically. So I just, again, I want to make these videos because I like to help people kind of understand best practice in situations like these, but also important to understand, what's going on in the big picture. And, the fact of the matter is this is a very risky situation. So if you're going to be investing, please understand the likelihood of losing some, if not all, of your investment is very high. Because just say you'd got in at, just say 350,000 or 350, right? And the price is down to 150. That's like a 60-70% decrease. Okay, that's not good. Those are not things you want to rely on. Good traders typically don't gamble with stuff like this. Now, I obviously have, and I agree with you in that sense too. It's like, hey, what's the, don't contradict yourself. Well, I'm trying to just kind of briefly explain to you that when I invested my money, which is a very small amount, I expected to lose it, and I got lucky and hit 1,000% gain, right? That was just obviously buying low here and selling high. You can possibly do the same thing again. Just keep in mind, you're going to potentially lose that money that you're investing, so don't invest a lot. And if you do invest a lot, expect to lose it because it's a significant gamble. There's literally nothing here that's telling us, which direction it wants to go. All we can do is understand that it's kind of stuck under the resistance of 175 and above support at 110. Those are the only things that we have to go on right now. All right, so again, just keep that in mind. Very last thing we could look at would be TD sequential, and we are at a 9 right now. It doesn't show up very good on the charts, of course, just based on how it's supposed to work and all the recent relevant data. But we can see we're at a 9 right now. What that does imply, though, just to keep this in mind, is that we should see a turnaround here soon, because typically when you hit a 9 on TD sequential, the likelihood of it going much further is lower. Specifically on the 4-hour time frame, because the fact that that's like 36 hours, almost 40 plus hours essentially. That's telling us, hey, the bears have been in control this entire time. They're going to start losing control because that natural ebb and flow of trading is occurring. So hypothetically, based on that metric alone, we should see the price increase. But just keep in mind, Bitcoin is on its way down, Therefore, we could expect or anticipate Luna to also be on its way down, right? Just again, something to kind of think about. And if you're curious about the state of Bitcoin, feel free to check out my other video. I make one every single day. It's the first one I make, and hopefully that gives you perspective on the market too if you want to learn more about it. So thanks again for joining me here. I hope that you benefit today from this explanation and hopefully some friendly advice. Just be cautious and careful, and be very, very. Try not to consider yourself to become a millionaire on this coin. Okay, I know a lot of folks are thinking that it's a seven-figure possibility. While that is a possibility, it's not a probability, and we just got to protect our investments and be careful. Try not to invest in bad investments. And right now, this is a complete wild card, and there's no guarantees it's going to go up or down. But we are overexhausted to the downside. The likelihood of a pullback to the upside is higher. All right. That being said, we'll go ahead and cover this again moving forward so you can all stay abreast and hopefully continue to learn some stuff there. Again, if you want to become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for your time. We'll see you in the next one.